This will be the first video in the scratch build series for the All Aboard Dinor in Lake City, PA. I've alluded to it, and I'm actually starting to do some work. So this first video will just kind of show some of the planning, the drawing I'm making for it, maybe some materials I'm going to have, and maybe something that I made up for downstairs to get a rough idea of it. So kind of a brief introduction, more to follow as we actually get working, dependent on the actual amount of time I have, because unfortunately for work I have an on-site job I have to go back to. It's going to delay things, but let's get the first one started here because I am doing work on this. I've taken tons of photographs from the outside to the inside, all kinds of interior photographs as well, trying to get things. I can't remember anything, so I need to have photographs of it. And detail photographs under the eaves here. You can see all the lights they have and everything, and I'd like to, model that as well. And the building's unique in that this part here was an addition for the kitchen, and it actually sticks out. So the building in itself is not a pure rectangle, which not all stations, but a lot of stations are. So that required a little bit of thinking, at least on my part. I don't claim to be the world's greatest structure builder. So lots of detailed photographs were taken of various items, and the one thing I was able to do, this is so far the structure in CAD. I was able to get draft site through work for free, so yeah, okay, that's one of the perks I guess for working for GE, is you get some good software. And I've drawn it up, and I actually went in and drew the most unique part, I think, for the building is the very top. I'm calling it like a cap molding. I drew it up based on measurements. I did actually measure this and then place it over a couple of the windows, and these are the actual sizes for the windows. These are the main 8x8s. These are the two larger ones that are on the bay window in the back. And then based on dimensions that I have, I went ahead and drew everything up to scale. So, that, for example, that line is 240 inches or 20 feet. So things are pretty well scaled in here. It's not exact. I did have to scale basically 3/4 of the building. It's scaled a little bit just to make it fit. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think it kind of captures the look of it. So I have the plan view I just finished, and I have the different elevations. And for example, this will be the most visible. This is the track side, and here's the actual track side photograph. So you can see I tried to get it to look similar. I'm not saying it's perfect because of the compression I had to do, but it kind of starts out here with an old door with a screen on it. That's this door. The bay windows here with those two windows. And there's a set of 3 windows that I put in, and these start to get compressed a little bit. And the real interesting thing as I was looking at photographs is this window here, which will be this window here, used to be a door, because the side molding there, it's really hard to see, but it extends down to the ground. When I first looked at it, and then there's a concrete step there, I was like, why is that there? And I looked at it and said, hey, I bet that used to be a door because the molding is going down to the ground. Then they have this one to board it up. This one is boarded up, and obviously the ductwork here. I'll try to get that ductwork put in. It's harder to see. There's also ductwork here, and there's 2 AC units there on the ground. And you have this taller door in here, another boarded up window. And then you can see all the details I'll have to add. There's this stuff here, ladder on the roof, this big ventilator, the chimneys and everything. So that's what I'm trying to get to, trying to start off. I have this drawn in HO scale, and it's been very, very helpful to try to understand what I need to do, what I have in terms of sizes and dimensions, and if things are going to fit, if it's going to look right. Because I did not actually go out and measure the actual heights. I kind of wung it. I was winging it. But overall, I think it kind of captures the look of the building. Good enough for me. Again, I'm not going to be real randy about it. Like I said, the original building is about 120 feet. I made mine 100. The width is about the same. This being the plan view, this is the bay window here in the back. Yeah, these are the money seats. That's where Steve and I like to sit because the train tracks are right out here. And then it's got this addition, and this part of the building is farther out, so that's why it's got this weird looking shape here at the end. This side's longer than this side. It's not symmetric, and it just took a lot of work to get to that, well, at least for me, to get to that point, but it was helpful in going through this. Now, I still need to work on, this is easy to draw, but when you actually go to build it, if I actually want to make, wall pieces off of this, what about wall thicknesses and which walls overlap other walls, and not that would throw you off a lot, but it could, if you're not careful. I'm thinking of making the walls out of maybe a 1/16 basswood with the board and batten siding, which the building has, which I was pretty much able to obtain. Was a good picture of it. This one's not bad. This kind of shows the board and batten siding. That's pretty close to northeastern scale lumber. I have some 1/8. That's about 10 inches or so. I actually measured this to be about 8.5, 9. It isn't consistent. It's not all the same. So I ordered some 3/32, which is a little bit smaller, just to have that. So those things are coming. So that's just kind of an introduction to what I'm doing plan-wise. And what I actually did do, what was kind of neat about this software, at least it worked for me, was I can print this and I can scale it to HO scale. I didn't think it was going to work, but it did. I just put in, this many inches or a foot, and I made up a print configuration for it, printed it off, got my scale rule, and damn, the things were actually measuring right. I actually printed it off, and this was 20 feet, and this here is 8 feet. It was 8 feet, and the windows are 40 inches, and I was surprised, but it actually worked fairly well. So I printed the entire building, and we'll pop downstairs quick and see if my creation is finished up drying. I was gluing it together. I made kind of a mock-up of it, so we'll go take a look at that and see what it looks like in 3 dimensions. Okay, there we go. I'm done. Have a nice day. So here's what I decided to do. I printed it off HO scale, and it printed off pretty darn near to scale. And then I cut the pieces out, and obviously it was all 2-dimensional. And then I went ahead and I kind of cut the paper, and then I put it together on some it's actually cardboard that I used for it's actually mat board that I used when I used to do photography, but it's got a lot of other uses. So it's certainly not perfect. I'm not saying it's the squarest thing in the world, but, and then I used some UHU stick glue and glued the drawing to the mat board, and then glued it together and put a couple stiffeners here and there just to see what it looks like. And overall, it's not perfect. I can see, looks like I got the bay window pretty close, but the overall length, again, you can kind of see it's overhanging a little bit, so I might need to reduce it, because if I kind of set that like that, I want it to sit, and that's probably because I need something to point with. Let me grab a utensil here. This wall, I made it the wall that I measured, but then you got this I put it on the outside of it, so it actually increases it by roughly 5-6 inches HO scale. So that's what I mean. I got to think about how I actually want to build the building, because it does overhang a little bit on both ends. We'll have to see how the front looks from the other side, but that at least gives me, kind of an idea what it's going to look like, how big it's going to be. I'm not far away, from the overall feel of the building, the size of the station, what it's going to look like. I did move this and this a little bit, so I had some of the scenery already cut out for the steps, and they're not wrong, but this is the one that used to be the door, so I'll have to move that over, but no real big deal there. So let's just see if I can get a quick look from the other side, if it looks any better. All right, this side seems to be off a little bit more, but I think it's because mostly I didn't really do a whole lot of worrying about squaring up this little front addition part there for the front door, but that's the side. And unfortunately, you're not really going to see this side all that much. Then, there'll be the deck. There's a little deck that goes out here and the steps, and I want to put the 2 little poles with the lanterns on it and everything. So that's what it looks from the front side. Again, overall, not too bad. And I do have another foundation back on the workbench so I can kind of fine-tune things before I actually start cutting walls. And that's really the reason I wanted to do this, was to see what it looks like. Does it fit? Do I need to do any changes to the dimensions, before I actually say, yeah, okay, let's start cutting the walls out. So that's what it is from that side. And I'll just pop back to the track side for a moment. So another thing this is helping me do, as I look at this, it's helping me think about how I want to do. I'm not sure I can actually hold this up, and this is the darn roof, but how I want to do things inside, around the front there. I can't do this. Let me see if I can maybe go drone on it here. Do I want to make this a full wall to get some support? Because I'd have a hard time keeping all this square. I know I myself would, because this wall, it runs off of this far end, but there's nothing here to really square it. So I figure if I put an interior wall across, so that's not really where I'd like to have a full interior wall, down on this side. Obviously you have the restaurant side, and there's a wall that I will put in that runs right here, right about the 20-foot mark. So I'll run that right across the inside and then detail that. Now this wall, I wouldn't really want to be there, because the next wall isn't really to back about, kind of roughly about where I just shoved that piece in. That's behind the bathrooms, and it goes back into the kitchen. But anyway, I need to be able to keep it square when I'm building it. So this has kind of helped me think about how I want to do, all that, keep it square. You can see I put a little piece in there to help, but this is going to be tricky for me. Other folks might be simple, but what do I want to do to make sure things are all nice and square, in that particular area when I actually go to building it, so I can keep things square, and then obviously get it back on the layout so it's looking right. So all right, so that's that. So that's my mock-up, and hey, for now I can even leave it there. At least it looks like there's something going on. See, it's not quite exact on the foundation, so I can see how I have to tweak things a little bit, but anyway, I can't see, hey, it's a start. I'm getting there. So, more to follow. I'm gonna wait till a couple more things come in. Maybe we'll just cover some of the materials. Well, I can cover almost all the windows and doors. A gentleman I'm working with on Shapeways is going to he actually sent me a preliminary. He's actually got like I said, this is to me the most distinctive part, is this upper cap trim. And the windows are it's got a 5-inch trim around it. Now it's got a bottom casing, it's got this top stuff. Well, he actually can make the whole window for me, and then all I got to do is just cut it out and put them in. He can't get the mullions on these here, so I'm probably have to do that on acetate, maybe print them or something like that, but we'll see. But to me, really the most important part is getting this cap. It's real distinctive, and without that, I don't think it would even capture, I don't think, the look of the building appropriately, because most of the windows do have them. So it's just something that you can notice right away. And I think if I built it and it wasn't there, anyone that's familiar with the actual Dinor would say, wait a minute, something's not looking quite right. So I'm working on that. A lot of the interior details, I'm starting to get those sourced as well. Again, there's another guy on Shapeways that makes a lot of interior booths and chairs and whatnot for restaurants. So that could be very helpful. And then some of the exterior details I need to get. There's a HVAC unit that sits there. Then there's one in front of, I think it was this window. And then how am I going to model the ductwork? That aluminum ductwork, I'm not sure yet how to model that. Everything else is pretty typical for a scratch build building, but I'm getting there, starting to get things moving here. So, all right, wanted to show that, and we'll do more as things progress here. Okay, so to wrap up this first introductory kickoff video, I guess, for the build, here's some of the other material. Actually, really not a whole other material. I picked up some 3/32 basswood, some 1/8 inch basswood. Figure that for the main walls, or I'm thinking of using probably the 3/32 laminated with. This is the Northeastern scale lumber. This is like I said, the 1/8 being the dimension between the battens. It's actually about a 1/16 of an inch thick. So I figured if I took that and then, kind of laminated it, it's hard to show here, but you get the drift, laminated it onto 3/32. That's not a bad thickness. So I realized it had to be braced and whatnot, and then make the walls out of that type of stuff. Unfortunately, this is the widest piece that they have, so I'll have to do some cutting, fitting, and gluing together walls and doing a lot of bracing inside. I understand that. So again, I'm thinking of the 3/32 plus the 1/16, laminated on top of it for the main walls. Maybe using an 1/8 for some bracing, interior walls, floor, etc., etc. And then obviously you have to brace corners, and I got all kinds of other strip wood for that. That's not really an issue. I do understand that you have to brace these structures fairly well, and I will do that. I'm going to interior detail it, but I'm not going to sacrifice the strength or longevity or rigidity or whatever of the building itself. So again, I'm probably not going to make the roof removable. I'm not planning to at this point. Put lights in it, you'll be able to look in there and see the interior. So if corners are braced and I have extra bracing, not going to be a huge deal. I'll try to make it look inconspicuous when you're looking through windows. So, and that's really it. Of course, all you need, all the windows, doors and whatnot, and the trim, all of which I kind of mentioned. Most of the windows, doors, and the trim. Hopefully, I can work with this guy on shapeways and get that done. Interior details, they'll come. I'll get those working, and the next step will be get the drawing that we showed, that scale drawing, get it finished, verify that things will fit okay to the foundation that I have, because this is what I actually have. So even if I have to change the drawing to be less than perfect, it's got to fit on that, because this is what I have over on the layout as well as here. So this one I can work off of this, and then again, figuring out how I want to do walls, what's going to overlap what. Don't want to cut any type of mating notches for stuff like a lot of the kits have that I'm more familiar with. So a lot for me to think about yet, but at least I'm on the path and I'm starting to do some work. So we'll see. So more to come. Again, I'm going to be traveling here in a little bit, so I may not get much further in terms of actual cutting and getting that kind of stuff, because I still think all the windows have to be made and delivered. Still a little bit of planning to do and thinking about how I'm actually going to do the construction with this material. So, more to come, but I just want to get this up and say I am actually going to pull this thing off somehow. At some point in time over the summer, I'll get this thing done. So more to come. Bear with me here. It could be a little bit of a gap now till the next one, just based on this job that I have to go back to. So unfortunately, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be totally gone, so won't be able to do much of anything, unfortunately. But I am going to work on it, going to keep planning it, keep thinking about it. I don't know, maybe we can take some of these with me. Cut things out in the hotel room at night. That might be doable. I don't want to drag all my tools with me. I just found that I just don't like doing that. I like to keep things here at the workbench, and I never take enough for the one thing I'm looking for I don't have, or anyway, enough babbling. But I may be able to do some work in the hotel room, cutting stuff together once I get things planned, and take the foundation along with me and do some check-in and verifying that things fit. I'm sure it'll be trial and error, and I'll make mistakes and have to redo things, but that's okay. All right, so more to come. Thanks for watching so far, and we'll keep pushing along and hopefully get this thing built and installed on the layout over the summertime.